One, it should remain within the bounds of Quran and Sunnah. I repeat, it should remain within the bounds of Quran and Sunnah. Two, liberty must not curtail any other man's liberty. Liberty must not curtail any other man's liberty. Three, must not be a cause, a source, an instrument to harm anyone. Four, should not be a zulm, that is to dislodge, remove something from its original due state or position. Five, it should not hurt others. Six, it must not create injustice. It must be compared to the secular concept of liberty, like keep your laws off my body, a placard carried by girls the other day in USA, or the well-known saying of Bertrand Russell, you can do anything as long as it doesn't take you to the police station. Or the saying about the British Parliament, it can do anything. It can declare a woman a man. It can make the accused his own judge. None can change the concept of liberty given by Muhammad till the doomsday. None can change the concept of liberty given by Muhammad till the doomsday. The secular may feel indisposed to follow such a concept which denies them many and evil desires and pleasures, even the right, liberty to sleep with another person's spouse. The secular, I repeat, may feel indisposed to follow such a concept which denies them many and evil desires and pleasures, even the right, liberty to sleep with another person's spouse. But this is how it is. And they may also be denied the liberty of trapping unbeknown teenagers or beating up, smacking, kicking their children as a routine. As regards the rights of women, it may be new for the secular that all the teachings of the Prophet, peace be upon him, are oriented and geared to the benefit, comfort, happiness, and the well-being of the entire humanity in this world. So also the hereafter. It may be new for the secular that all the teachings of the Prophet, peace be upon him, are oriented and geared to the benefit, comfort, happiness, and the well-being of the entire humanity in this world. So also the hereafter in this world, and so also the hereafter. The teachings of the Prophet adhere to these. 1. Quran desires the mankind to procreate and every family to have a pure, clean lineage, unlike animals, pigs, dogs, etc. in particular. Explanation 35 Surah Fatir, verse 11. Translation: and the two-bit voluptuaries addicted to luxury, sensual pleasures, who have made themselves undeclared gods by pontificating the right and wrong against the values ordered by Allah and the Prophet, mustn't forget that Allah created you, O men, initially from cheap clay, Adam. Thereafter, every individual from a dirty drop of semen. Then he made you couples, spouses, man and woman. That procreation continues till the doomsday. And he knows well in advance what's to happen. No female conceives nor gives birth without his knowledge and preference, and he controls life and death. No person advances in age or his life cut off, but people haggle about the cause and effects. Whether change is taken as a direct action in recreating the atoms in different states of instantaneous being, or every change is as a succession of events with no secondary casualty, Allah is the prime and only cause of all that takes place, is saved in a book. All that takes place, all is saved in a book, metaphorically. And it is all extremely easy for Allah. That's the end of translation. Explanation continues. Allah has raised mankind and structured the human society on couples, spouses, man and woman, bounded as husband and wife. Idea fixe of 20th century regarding liberty, freedom, the rights of the individuals, the right to do whatever one likes with one's own body, the right to do whatever one likes with one's own body, secular values and lifestyles, totally secular worldly orientation of living. All this resulted in millions of men and women clamber out of the strewn wreckage of their marriages. Divorce, separation, single-parent houses, and other forms of familiar disaster overtook millions in a process of a few decades. The modern society thus reeks with the adverse effects of these malapropos combinations like lesbians, gays, open marriages, single-parent houses where the husbands keep changing rounds precisely like animals, dogs, tomcats, and pigs. Without looking into the actual causes, that is, lack of spiritual recourse and godlessness, without looking into the actual causes, that is, lack of spiritual recourse and godlessness, malcontent, dejected, frustrated, and lonely and rebellious people in millions initiated the dramatic process of changing the social sphere and dashed to find shelter, solace, peace in all sorts of experiments in life, nefarious, malodorous combinations, equations of living other than as devoted husband and responsible husbands and wives. Apart from lesbians, gays, these included unmarried couples. The absolute ruination, paralysis, ineffable failure of the modern social sphere is demonstrated, can be seen in the incredible proportion of single-parent families. On the average, more than 80% of children in USA, UK, Europe are living with single parents. I repeat, on the average, more than 80% children in USA, UK, Europe are living with single parents. The Western society is reeking with the adverse, ghastly, psychosocial effects of these pathetic combinations. Social phobia is the outcome of breaking up of the nuclear family, that is, husband, wife, and 2 children. Not only have the human beings been created as couples, there are the opposites in every creation of Allah. There are women who do not conceive and those who conceive, those who deliver and who cannot, the long living and the short living man, and other animate objects, the sweet water and the brackish, things which sink and those which float, the night and the day, and so is the good and the evil, and so is the good and the evil. Piety that leads to the pleasure of Allah and to heaven, and disobedience, transgression that earns His wrath and leads to hell. Piety that leads to the pleasure of Allah and to heaven, and disobedience, transgression that earns His wrath and leads to hell. Allah alone has created you, and it is Him alone who is worthy of worship, obedience. Allah alone has created you, and it is Him alone who is worthy of worship, obedience. The others whom the disbelievers, mushrikeen, invoke for help haven't created anything at all, not even a membrane of a date stone. They can't hear your prayers, and if they do, they can't be of any assistance at all. All your demigods and demigods will disavow your shirk on the doomsday, and none would elaborate things to forewarn you as Allah has. The bloody-minded people must understand, accept the reality, the truth, that they are totally dependent on Allah, and Allah is absolutely free of all needs, doesn't require anything from them. And don't consider yourself to be powerful or indispensable. Allah can lift off the entire mankind and replace it with a new creation which will be as obedient as the angels. But He permits the good and the evil and the mankind capable of both to exist, that people obey Him voluntarily and to reward or punish them as per their deeds, that the disbelievers, quizzling, sinful, play the word of Allah and disobey Him blatantly all their lives, and yet appear to flourish and thrive, doesn't bother the knowledgeable at all. Now, Surah Fatir, verse 16, and translation of the verse. And let not the disbelievers live with false and distorted perceptions that the world is a hugger-mugger, a bedlam, and there is none to grip them, and they can live an unmolested visceral life, because if Allah prefers, He can remove you off. If Allah prefers, He can remove you off from the face of the earth, eliminate the mankind, and put it to a backstage, and establish another Genesis. Translation ends. Excellent and perfect in obedience as the angels. Another generation, Genesis, excellent and perfect in as the angels. Every individual is a life renter of the worldly things, whereas the deeds shall stick to man till eternity. Opportunities to perform the evil are actually a trap laid for those inclined to devilish deeds. These powers, opportunities, and freedom are not a golden spoon in the mouth, but a knife in the back, of which you are forewarned well in advance. opportunities, I repeat, to perform the evil are actually a trap laid for those inclined to devilish deeds. These powers, opportunities, and freedom are not a golden spoon in the mouth, but a knife in the back, of which you are forewarned in advance. Remain in your shoes, in your limits, for when Allah grips, punishes, none can come to rescue. Remain in your shoes, in your limits, for when Allah grips, punishes, none can come to rescue. Man has established a right for visceral pleasures, diabolical lifestyle in the name of freedom, liberty, and rights of the individuals. Communities had adapted such subcultures and cultures earlier too, which Allah devastated as a lesson for the mankind. Some numbskulls understand the purpose of things that man has made, manufactured, and uses all the facilities in the world provided by Allah to his own creation. That is, to be voluntarily subservient to Allah. I repeat, my apologies. Some numbskulls understand the purpose of things that man has made, manufactured, and uses all the facilities in the world provided by Allah to his own visceral purposes, but doesn't recognize the purpose of his own creation, that is, to be voluntarily subservient to Allah. There is no duplication, superfluousness, wastage in Allah's creation. He hasn't created the man and woman to replicate each other. Fin de Sale, end of the 20th century women's lib, has been stretched to an unnatural duplication of the different roles, not rights. Allah has given the women and man. Has this fin de Sale, end of 20th century women's lib, has been stretched to an unnatural duplication of different roles. Allah has given the women and men equal rights, have been inextricably mixed up, confused with same roles to psychosocial devastating effects and suicide of brilliant communities. But Allah has a grand scheme of things, of running the universes, else bringing mankind or certain communities to an abrupt or gradual end isn't problematic for Allah to the least. He has well demonstrated his capability to destroy people within seconds. Once he grips, disbelievers, sinful, cannot backtrack to reformation, and it's all just easy for him. And once they are up the spout, in trouble on the doomsday, none will bear anyone's load, burden of sins. Even the dearest would avoid contact. The Prophet, peace be upon him, has been sent to forewarn, to be convincing for those who are not hedonists, those who fear Allah without having seen him, and offer praise, salah, and have it taped. He who reforms does it to his own good. No favor to the Prophet, peace be upon him, or to Allah. You will see it, the good and the evil you have done, when everything returns to Allah. Allah unfolded the universes with the first Big Bang. He'll fold up all his creation and their deeds with the second Big Bang. Allah would decide the disputes between people and restore the interpersonal rights of each by making those who committed excesses compensate the wronged, the harmed, the victimized. And the spiritually alive shall not be equated as the refulgent light and grave darkness aren't the same, nor are the cold and warm alike in effects, and neither are the spiritually living the same as the spiritually dead, and neither are the spiritually living the same as the spiritually dead. Allah would differentiate between everything, having the most slender differences to an infinite degree of perfection. Allah can convey His message to an infinite degree. Allah can convey His message to anyone He considers appropriate, even to the dead. But none can convince those who have enclosed themselves in the graves of their ill-fated, cursed, rigid attitude of closed minds and hearts, of closed minds and hearts. Those who have decided not to listen, those who have decided not to listen. The Prophet, peace be upon him, has been sent to convey the message of Allah, order the good, and proscribe, prohibit, condemn the evil, and forewarn the people. He can't proselytize, convert by force. That's the end for today. Jazakallah. Please pray for me, ex-Brigadier Mustansar Billah.